Hello, Miss Lay. Welcome to our conference. So we're here to talk about May, and I'd just like to start with May's literacy abilities in relation to what we're doing in the classroom. But first, before we talk about that, I'd just like to say that May has been an amazing help in this classroom. Oh my gosh, she is always helping those around her. Specifically, there's one student who has a hard time keeping up in class. So she's always over there helping him go through, like going over the instructions given at the front of the class, and she's always keeping him on task and as well keeping her on task. They help each other out, and she really does help around the classroom a lot. She really adds to the positive environment in the classroom. She loves everyone, and she really pays attention to her surroundings. She pays attention to who needs help, who might need a hug, who might need a friend to talk to. Yeah, she says she's friends with everybody, and she really is. And it really does help bring a positive vibe to our classroom. So rerouting entirely, in regards to literacy, since we've talked at our conference, since last conference, I have given so far 3 RTI assessments, 3 retelling assessments, a high frequency assessment, a high frequency word assessment, a spelling inventory, and just taking a look at her work samples, at her writing work samples. And just a brief overview of what the RTI is. Excuse me. Aloha plate. RTI is where the assessor, well, me, gives a child a book or a text or a paragraph or a passage to read, and we see what words they miss, which words they pronounce, which words they omit, or which words they insert and whatnot. And we can look at that and see what made them make those errors, and see if it was meaning, if they got the same meaning but it's a different word, or if it was syntax, like the way the sentence was going, they thought, oh, it must be this word, or if the way they read it, they thought it was a different word. So the way it was textually configured. So that's our RTI, and then after an RTI, immediately after, we do a retelling for them to tell us what they got from what they read. And if they don't get anything from what they read, that's very severe. That did not happen with May. She got it on retelling. Because the goal of literacy and reading is to make meaning from our reading. So the end goal is comprehension of text. So the retelling and the RTI really can inform each other on, if they're not getting a lot on the RTI, if they're not getting a lot of words, that could inform us why they're not getting a retelling, or and vice versa. And with the high frequency word test, we've been working a lot on fry words, which are some of the most common words you can encounter while reading. So this was just kind of a definitive test of what she knew and what she didn't. And she passed that with flying colors. She's trucking along with these high frequency words. And then as well, with our spelling inventory, this just says what level of speller she is and what she might need to work on more, because it's organized by patterns of spelling. So it really let me know what patterns she needs to work on. So based on all this information, so some of her areas of strength are, she is super passionate about reading. She has a super strong self-concept about her as a reader. She really uses context clues while she's reading. And she had some pretty high comprehension levels on most of the RTI assessments. So I figured out that From the Burke reading interview, that was another assessment I forgot to mention. This just says how they feel about reading and how they feel about themselves as reader. And she was super passionate about reading. She, something that she said, I'm looking at it right now. She said that she loves finding books that are just right for me. In our class, we talk a lot about the Goldilocks rule, not too much, not too little. So finding a book that really like just kicks with her, that just clicks. And she specifically said she's amazing as a reader and the best reader ever. So she has a really strong self-concept and she's really passionate about it, which is amazing and will help her keep going as a reader. And there are some other points in here in our reading interview that I will address later in our meeting. So just hang tight on that one. With her use of context clues in one of her RTIs on this book, it's called How to Lose All Your Friends. She thought this book was funny. It's a pretty sarcastic book, so I thought it was funny. She was able to, with this one, this was like perfect as like an instructional independent level for her as a reader. And she missed so few words, but she still got everything because she used the text around it, around the words she didn't know, to understand what was happening in her story, which is an absolutely necessary skill to have, and she's got it in regards to this book and with this level. Yeah, and then in regards to her retelling, she really does get like the point of the story, and she's really good at thinking about what might happen next. And I've encountered that while we've been doing guided reading as a class. When we talk about a book and we say, oh, what might happen next, she has some great ideas, and they're not always right because authors have different ideas where they're going, but there's some interesting ideas like, oh, I never thought of that. Wow, that could actually happen. It's great to see some other ideas than my own in reading, because I wouldn't have thought about that idea. And like reminds me that I don't have all the answers. So let's see. So those are some of the things that we've seen in regards to her strengths with her literacy. So in class, to help these strengths keep being strengths, we constantly teach context clues with our guided reading, where I take out a small group and I talk with them and like teach them about reading skills. So we'll keep using context clues to make sure she keeps that as a skill. And then you're also like constantly reading in our classroom. So that will help her keep her super strong self-concept and passion. And then with her strong retelling, that's part of our guided reading as well. What I would ask you to do at home is to, sorry, my notes are over here, is to read with her a lot at home. And even if you are doing something else, but let her read aloud to you. And if something doesn't sound right, say, wait, what was that word again? Just take a note of it. Like, as long as she's reading out loud and you can hear it and engaging with her in the story, she would love it. As well as maybe walking her through with context clues like, based on this word and this word around here, and on the picture, and on what we've already read, what do you think this word could be? And make sure that she's retelling. If she's reading silently, make sure that she retells what she's saying to you, as well as when she's reading aloud, just to make sure that she's just not reading by rote and just reading the words on the page and not thinking about what she's reading. some of the areas of need that I found while I was giving these tests, sorry, plural, English, was that with spelling, she has a little bit of a hard time with spelling. And I've noticed this with our spelling test I gave her, as well as in her work samples, writing samples that I saw. With her spelling test, she is currently on letter name alphabetic stage of spelling due to this test. And so I'd say she's between early and middle on that stage. So that just means that she gets and can hear the initial and final sounds completely on with consonants, but she has a little bit of a difficulty with short vowel and long vowels. So with E on the end being silent and the vowel in the middle saying its name, she has a little bit of a hard time with that. So in regards to that, when we're doing our centers, when I have my guided reading groups, I can only work with the group. So we have them work on things independently or as a group at their desks. And in school, we will be practicing the spelling patterns. That's where spelling goes. We go by pattern. Every list has a pattern included in it. So then we'll be doing that in school and practicing it. So I would ask you, I will be sending home a spelling list that she has been assigned, and I will have one here, and you will have one at home. So I ask you to practice this with her. Get her to just write those on like a piece of paper they have lying around the house. So like, practice this one, I want to see it 3 times, and practice this one, I want to see it 3 times. Just practice it, and just check it and see what she's having problems with, what she's not, and that would be awesome because practice never hurt anybody. With some other things I found that may need a little bit more work, she, in her birth reading inventory, when I was talking about her self-concept and whatnot, she says, like, when she's reading, and when she comes to something she doesn't know, she chunks the words, and that's when she uses her finger to block it out. She'll go, oh, that's the first one, and then that's the first letter in the sound, and then it's the last letter in the sound, and now I have to figure out what's in the middle. And that can really be seen with her spelling list as well, with where she gets all the initial and final consonants. So just working on that in betweens. So yeah, I am during guided reading, we'll be practicing with that specifically for a little bit to just get her back into the habit, because she's trailed off that habit. And that she also, I've noticed in some of my RTIs that she omits words when she's not sure about it. So that paired with chunking, when she doesn't want to chunk, she skips the word. So in our class, we're going to say we do not skip words. We're going to chunk it and try it out and see what word it could be. And we'll also use context clues, which is already a skill she has. So we'll pair that context skill and build up on top of it and go, okay, let's chunk this word and see what it could be. And then if it doesn't make sense, we can look around and see what word might make sense. That kind of sounds like this, because I know she knows the words. It's just the words on the page that confuses it. Because one time I helped her chunk it out and she got it. So she knows the words. So at school we'll be working with that with guided reading. And so at home, I would ask you to sometimes switch off between her reading aloud to you and then you sitting next to her while she reads. That you make sure she reads aloud so you can hear what she's reading, and that if you can see that she's skipping a word, that you point it out, like, what was that one? And if she says, I don't know, then practice chunking, getting the first sound and the last sound, and and with some combinations say what could these two be, or trying to bring in those rules that she's learned at school. So far that has been all I've seen. Really, those are the things we're working on right now in school, and if you could help with that, that would help so much. Are there any questions you'd like to talk about in regards to her literacy?